Commander Jake Morrison had been assigned to the diplomatic vessel Harmony for exactly 3 weeks when the incident occurred. His role was simple: cultural liaison between humanity and the Valkyrian Empire, a species of elegant, towering aliens with crystalline skin that shifted colors based on their emotional state. The princess, Lyra, daughter of the Valkyrian High Queen, was aboard to finalize the treaty that would bring humanity into the galactic fold. Jake had been warned about Valkyrian customs. Don't stare at their face patterns. Don't offer food without permission. Don't touch their head crests. Nobody mentioned anything about other areas. The corridor outside the observation deck was narrow, designed for Valkyrian proportions rather than human ones. Jake squeezed past a maintenance drone, turned the corner, and collided directly with Princess Lyra. His hand shot out instinctively to steady himself, landing squarely on her lower back region. Time seemed to freeze. Her crystalline skin flared from its usual calm azure to a brilliant, angry crimson. Every Valkyrian in the corridor stopped and stared. "Don't touch my butt, human," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut steel. Her 4 eyes narrowed at him, and the temperature in the hallway seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Your species has no sense of proper boundaries." Jake's face burned. "Princess, I apologize. It was an accident. I didn't mean to." "Your intentions are irrelevant," she interrupted, her skin now pulsing between red and orange. "You have committed a severe breach of protocol. Consider yourself fortunate that diplomatic immunity protects you from immediate imprisonment." She swept past him, her flowing robes trailing behind her like a storm cloud. Her attendants followed, shooting Jake looks that ranged from disgust to pity. The other humans in the corridor gave him wide berth, as if his social death might be contagious. Captain Rodriguez summoned him within the hour. The captain's office was sparse, functional, decorated only with commendations and a picture of Earth that seemed impossibly far away now. "Morrison, do you have any idea what you've done?" Rodriguez asked, rubbing his temples. "It was an accident, sir. The corridor was tight, and I lost my balance. The Valkyrians consider that particular area sacred. It's where their neural connectors are located. You essentially grabbed her brainstem, Morrison." Her brainstem. Jake felt his stomach drop. "I didn't know. It's not in any of the briefing materials, because it's so obvious to them that they didn't think it needed to be stated. Like how we wouldn't tell someone not to stick their fingers in our eyes." Rodriguez sighed. "The diplomatic team is working overtime to prevent this from derailing the entire treaty. You're confined to quarters until further notice." Jake spent the next 6 hours in his cramped cabin, replaying the incident in his mind. He had studied Valkyrian culture extensively. He knew their history, their art, their complex social hierarchies. But human databases only contained what the Valkyrians chose to share, and apparently they had assumed certain boundaries were universal. The summons came at what passed for evening on the ship. A Valkyrian guard appeared at his door, expression unreadable. "Princess Lyra requests your presence in her private quarters immediately." Jake's heart hammered. This was either a chance at redemption or his final humiliation before being shipped back to Earth in disgrace. The guard led him through corridors he had never seen before, into the Valkyrian section of the ship, where the ceiling soared and the air smelled of something like cinnamon and starlight. The princess's quarters were vast, filled with floating holographic displays, showing alien landscapes and mathematical equations that made his head hurt. Lyra stood by the window, her back to him, skin now a contemplative purple. "You may leave us," she told the guard. The door sealed shut with a soft hiss. Jake waited, uncertain whether to speak first or let her dictate the conversation. The silence stretched uncomfortably. "Do you know why I summoned you here, Commander Morrison?" she asked without turning. "To formally reprimand me, I assume. Or perhaps to ensure I understand the severity of my mistake." She turned then, and her expression was difficult to read. Valkyrian faces were beautiful but alien, with features that didn't quite map to human emotional cues. I summoned you here because I owe you an apology. Jake blinked. I'm sorry, what? My reaction was disproportionate to your offense. I reviewed the security footage. The collision was clearly accidental, and your reflexive action was a standard human balance response. You could not have known the cultural significance. Her skin shifted to a softer blue. I allowed my personal feelings to override my diplomatic responsibilities. Your Highness, you don't need to apologize. I violated your personal space. The fault is entirely mine. No, Commander. The fault lies in our two species' mutual ignorance of each other. She moved to a low table and gestured for him to sit. He did, awkwardly folding his legs in a way that approximated the Valkyrian sitting posture. Tell me, what do humans consider their most sensitive physical area? Jake thought carefully. Beyond the obvious biological vulnerabilities, I suppose personal space in general. We value consent for any physical contact, especially with strangers or authority figures. But we're also fairly resilient about accidental contact in crowded situations. Fascinating. For my people, the lower dorsal region contains neural clusters that connect to our deeper consciousness. Touch that creates a sensation humans might compare to having someone read your thoughts without permission. It's intensely invasive. Understanding dawned on Jake's face. So when I grabbed you there, it wasn't just rude. It was violating in a way I can't fully comprehend. Precisely. And yet, knowing it was accidental, I should have responded with education rather than anger. She touched a panel on the table, and 2 glasses filled with an iridescent liquid appeared. This is safe for human consumption. A gesture of reconciliation. Jake accepted the glass carefully. The liquid tasted like honey mixed with electricity. May I ask a question, Your Highness? Lyra. In private, you may call me Lyra. Lyra, then. Why are you really telling me this? You could have just accepted my apology through official channels. Her skin flickered through several colors quickly, something Jake had learned indicated complex emotional processing. Because I have spent 3 weeks observing your species, and I have concluded that humans are simultaneously the most adaptable and most stubborn beings in the galaxy. You charge forward into situations you don't understand, making mistakes constantly, and yet you learn from each one with remarkable speed. It's infuriating and admirable in equal measure. Jake couldn't help but smile. That might be the most accurate description of humanity I've ever heard. Your file indicates you have a doctorate in xenanthropology and speak 4 Earth languages fluently. You were chosen for this mission because of your ability to bridge cultural divides. Yet you still made this error, which proves that book learning only takes you so far. Real understanding requires mistakes and forgiveness. Lyra's skin warmed to a golden hue. Now you sound like a Valkyrian philosopher. Perhaps there is hope for our alliance after all. They talked for another hour, discussing not just the cultural mishap, but the broader challenges facing their 2 species. Jake learned that Valkyrians aged far slower than humans, that Lyra herself was nearly 200 years old, despite appearing young by her people's standards. She learned about human resilience, about how humanity had nearly destroyed itself a dozen times, but always pulled back from the brink. We scare you, Jake said finally. My species, I mean. That's part of why this treaty took so long to negotiate. You don't scare us, Commander. You concern us. Humans have gone from primitive technology to spaceflight in a cosmic eye blink. Your capacity for both great kindness and terrible violence is extreme even by galactic standards. We needed to understand whether you would be allies or threats. And the verdict? Her skin settled into a steady, warm amber. Still undecided. But incidents like today convinced me that humans are capable of growth. You acknowledged your mistake immediately, accepted responsibility, and sought to understand rather than defend. These are qualities we value highly. A chime sounded, indicating the end of the private meeting window. Jake stood, bowing in the Valtherian fashion he had practiced. Thank you, Lyra, for your honesty and your grace. Thank you, Jake, for reminding me why diplomacy matters. We will move forward from this incident as partners rather than adversaries. As Jake left her quarters, he noticed the Valtherian guards regarded him differently now. Not with hostility or pity, but with something approaching respect. Word had apparently spread that the princess herself had granted him a private audience. Captain Rodriguez was waiting in the corridor outside Jake's quarters. I don't know what you said in there, Morrison, but the Valtherian delegation just confirmed they want to proceed with the treaty signing as scheduled. Whatever damage control you did, it worked. Jake shook his head. I didn't do damage control, sir. I just had an honest conversation. Sometimes that's all diplomacy really is, Rodriguez replied. Get some rest. Tomorrow you're giving a presentation on human customs to the entire Valtherian delegation. Apparently, they don't want any more surprises. As Jake lay in his bunk that night, staring at the ceiling of his cabin, he reflected on the strange path